Hi, this is Elwin Robertson, and I'm here today thoroughly pleased to be joined by the very prestigious, innovative and impressive Dr. Robert Young. Thank you so much for joining me, Robert.
Well, thank you for having me on your program.
Robert Young is probably one of the most innovative and pioneering people in the area of health and medicine, and indeed even biochemistry that's been around a long time. Like a lot of people, I first came across Robert in Anthony Robbins' program, Living Health, where Tony did a good job explaining what it is that Robert was doing. And I dived into Robert's work with some enthusiasm and found that he has an absolutely pioneering approach, not just to basic health protocols, the same old stuff you hear all the time, but just a fundamentally new way of looking at health and, as I said, biochemistry and even life. And in fact, you call your approach the new biology, Robert, I believe. So Robert isn't just a man who's got books and a treatment facility and all the rest of it. He's a man, if I may say so, on a mission to profoundly change the face of the earth, which is something that's very impressive. And the other thing that I love about Robert, sorry, before I let you go into it, Robert, is that you're not what I call an armchair expert, by which I mean someone who sits around coming up with theories. You're helping people all the time in the real world. You know, you're getting some incredibly impressive results that I know this is the first time I've spoken to Robert, but I know Ruth Daber, who works with Robert, she's told me about the incredible things that you've achieved, and I'm really looking forward to hearing about that too. First of all, I'm just hoping you could introduce yourself a little bit more and maybe explain why this is such a passion for you and what brought you to this.
Well, the passion's actually grown over the years as I've had the opportunity to work with so many people around the world and actually study their blood and see and ask questions, about what they're eating, what they're drinking, how they're living their lives. And so studying lifestyles and diets, specifically how those lifestyles and diets affect the human blood. And so, studying hematology now for over 30 years, having the opportunity to look at the blood of over 500,000 samples of live and dry blood, and looking how the blood coagulates, looking how the blood forms in people that are healthy and people who are sick. And there's definitely a difference between those who are healthy and taking care of their bodies in a variety of different ways. And so everything that I've done over the last 30 years has been impacted by seeing the effects of that particular food or that particular drink or that particular lifestyle and how it impacts the human blood, and then making changes within that lifestyle or diet and seeing changes take place. And the foundational premise of my work is that the human body is alkaline by design. The second premise is that all functions of the human body are acidifying. The third premise is that the most important organ in the human body is the blood. In fact, life and death begins with the core blood. And we're only as healthy, we're only as strong and fit as the core. And that core blood is significant in maintaining healthy organs, and it can only the core blood can only be healthy in the proper alkaline environment. And so looking at the pH of body fluids, interstitial fluids, extracellular fluids, the blood plasma fluids, urine and saliva, and studying that in relationship to cells, particularly the blood, and then on the macro level, doing things from radiology perspective, from MRIs to PET scans, to now what we're doing is no radiation, looking at the health of the body and the physiology using thermography and using ultrasound or sonograms, which have been around for a while. But the technology has definitely improved that we can actually see the conditions or the anatomy of different organs and see cysts, see calcifications, see tumors, and see the reduction of those tumors or cysts or blockages that may be taking in different places of the body, like the the femur arteries or veins, or the carotid artery or the jugular veins. We can actually look at the portal veins and actually see the efficacy of this new biology and make sure that it's working, and understand better why it's working. And so the studies have been going on for the last 30 years. It's getting more and more sophisticated, even in that we're looking at studying the epigenetics, which is the actual expression of the genetics and how that changes with lifestyle and dietary changes. And we're in the process of setting up a 500-person study for prostate cancer, because we've had such great success in the reversal of prostate cancer, not because we're treating it specifically, but we're changing the environment in which prostate cancer expresses itself. And it's kind of like a swimming pool. You know, bacteria, yeasts, and molds and algae don't appear until you have an environment of the water that starts to reduce. It starts to become more oxidative. It starts to becoming more saturated with hydrogen ions. It becomes more acidic. And as that becomes more acidic, all kinds of things start appearing. So the focus of the new biology is to not treat any specific disease, but because disease in and of itself is not causative, it's actually the effect of an underlying cause, which is a change in the delicate pH balance of the fluids of the body. And so our focus is on the fluids in the treatment of disease rather than the tissues or the organs or the glands in and of themselves. And we're finding great success in multiple different types of cancers to, conditions such as type 1, type 2 diabetes, or hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, some of the metabolic disorders, inflammatory conditions, fibromyalgia, lupus, even more difficult challenges like multiple myeloma or inflammatory ductal cell carcinoma, where the only solution is for treatment currently is surgery. And so we've had great success in preventing that through a contextual or environmental approach, focusing more on the fluids of the body rather than, as I've said, the tissues in and of themselves. So this is really exciting. It's an exciting time to be alive. It's an exciting time to be able to be involved in this type of work that's making a difference in biology. It's making a difference in medicine. And it's making a difference in the way we look at nutrition, to actually describing differently, many of the physiological functions, as I've described in my books and in my lectures and in some of my papers. These things are now getting out. More and more people are hearing about it, and I think the most significant thing is we're getting results, and that's bottom line. Bottom line. That's what the client or patient really is looking for. Is they don't necessarily have to understand. I have to understand the pathology here, but for them, they just want the result.
Robert, can I ask you to maybe keep the camera more up, if anything? I think sometimes
it's like.
Yeah, all I'm seeing is your mouth, which is okay, but I think people like to see your eyes.
Okay, how's that? Is that better?
Yeah, definitely better. Thank you. And the more center it is, the better.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Cool. I'll edit it and dive straight back into it. Awesome. So, as you say, what most people are interested in is results. So from that perspective, what would you suggest that people focus on in the area of alkalinity, and in the area of getting those fluids to be as healthy as possible? What is the thing that the average man on the street watching this right now needs to focus on?
Well, I've always said that health should be available to everyone, and it should be affordable. And probably the most important single thing that anyone can do that is not expensive is to test and manage the pH of the fluids of the body, particularly the saliva, which should be 7.2 or greater, and the urine, which should be 7.2 or greater. The saliva, of course, is an indication of the capacity or capabilities of the body to deal with metabolic or dietary acids. So it's kind of like your gauge in the amount of reserves you might have to deal with acids from metabolism or from diet or from the environment for that matter. And the urine is a specific measurement of the pH of the fluids, the interstitial fluids, or the fluids that surround the cells of the body, the body cells. And so those fluids need to be at least 7.2 or greater. I mean, yes, you can test your tears, you can test your saliva, not your saliva, but your sweat. And any fluid that's being excreted from the body should have a pH of at least 7.2 if we're trying to achieve perfect health.
When you say at least, can it be too alkaline? I think I had mine tested once, and they said it was pH 9, and that meant it was too alkaline, and that was showing that my body was actually really acidic.
Not necessarily. I mean, because the pH of the urine at a pH of 9 is measuring the fluids around the cells. So you're either releasing excess alkalinity, or your body's pulling alkalinity into the fluids, into the tissue fluids, to manage that, or you're on a treatment protocol where you're on purpose alkalizing to maintain that alkalinity around the cells. But the cells do very, very well with a pH of 9 or even up to 10.
Okay.
It's only critical. Any pH that's in excess of 10, the body's going to release those hydroxyl ions. But hydroxyl ions, I mean, we use those for energy. I mean, those are the extra electrons that the body needs to buffer acidity, but also to energize the body. So a lot of folks don't realize that our bodies run on electrons, not on calories or on sugar or carbohydrates or proteins or fats. And so we need to really increase the amount of hydroxyl ions or electrons in our body through eating raw foods or electron-rich foods that haven't been overprocessed or cooked. And stay away from the more acidic foods. But yes, if your body is fatigued or tired or sick, or if you're dealing with a serious illness, the interstitial fluids are going to be acidic, and that's going to be reflected in the pH of the urine, which in generally all cases will be acid, or have a pH less than 7.2. And generally, if we're dealing with a serious chronic illness, the pH is going to be in the 5s, 5.2, around 5.5, unless you're purposely hyperperfusing the tissues with alkalinity through, techniques from drinking alkaline water to taking alkaline supplements.
Would you say there's a universal, like an always cause and effect relation between the more acidic, the more sick someone is? And the only reason I asked that is because I had a client once who I wasn't able to help with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and his pH of his urine was about 6.75 to 7.0, and I couldn't understand it because I was like, how is it possible that his pH, and he wasn't drinking massive amounts of alkaline water or having alkaline substances. Is there
in a cancerous condition, you want the pH of the urine up in the 8s.
Okay, so it just wasn't enough.
4, 8.5, you just weren't pushing it enough, and the body was losing a lot of its alkalinity, and you need to actually hyperperfuse the tissues with alkalinity in any particular cancerous condition. I mean, that's one of the main things that we do when we're trying to mediate acids, which are the cause of all sickness and disease, and particularly any cancerous tissue is acidic. So the body's going to try to neutralize that with alkalinity from the bones or the muscles. So, what happens in a cancerous case, particularly with pancreatic cancer, you'll note that anyone who has this condition is losing weight. Well, that weight that they're losing is alkalinity, as the body's pulling and breaking down body cells to maintain the alkalinity of the blood. And so they go into what I call reverse transformation, which is the breakdown of the body tissues to release, alkaline buffers, so calcium from the bones, magnesium from the muscles, to maintain the most critical organ of the body, and that's the blood. And so you can see the pH of the blood go up in pH from 7.365 to 7.4 to 7.5, and what that means is the body's pulling alkalinity into the blood to maintain its alkalinity as it's pushing acid out into the tissues.
Right, so it wasn't that he was nicely alkaline, it was that his body was losing its last reserves of alkalinity.
Yeah, it's losing it by body wasting rather than using, every means possible, every orifice possible to hyperperfuse the tissues with alkalinity. The main purpose of the pancreas is to secrete alkaline compounds into duodenum in order to alkalize the food coming out of the stomach. And so it's very important the food, when it goes to the small intestine, it needs to be in a liquid state, and it needs to be in a alkaline state at a pH of about 8.4. Well, that's why it's so important to eat an alkaline diet. That's why it's important to take alkaline supplements, drink alkaline water at 9.5, because this is protective to the tissues by managing the pH of the fluid. So it comes back to this very simple metaphor I think anybody can understand, and that is, if the fish is sick, what would you do? Would you treat the fish, or would you change the water? Well, the treatment protocol for healing the fish, which is a metaphor for the human cell or the body cells and the tissues and organs, is you don't treat the body cells anymore you would treat the fish. You change the water, because the cells of the body and the cells of the fish are only as healthy as the water they're swimming in. And so all the treatment protocols in current medical science have to be rethought into, what is disease and how do we prevent it, because the prevention is for a lot of these conditions is a lot easier than the treatments in themselves. So the actual protocol that I use, or the treatment protocol, is one, to open up the channels of elimination. So improve urination, the elimination through the urinary tract system, through the bowels, open up the pores of the skin, and improve oxygenation, respiration. So opening up the 4 channels of elimination. The second step is to heal the small intestine, because the small intestine, with its intestinal villi, which are the roots of the body, if they are damaged or injured or congested or stuck together, those have to be healed. So that core, that gut, has to be healed in order to produce healthy blood. And of course, that's the second, is to begin the process of healing the blood, which then heals the body. And then finally, the 4th step is to hyperperfuse the tissues with alkalinity. And in doing so, you're going to see some incredible results in healing and restoring the normal functions of the various body systems.
So I definitely follow the 4 channels of elimination. In fact, there's a module on that to come in this course. What about the healing of the small intestine? That's something that I don't have like a how-to guide for. Is that something that you could talk someone through, or is it too much of a complex process?
Well, healing the small intestine is a very difficult place to get through, so you have to go work both ends. So you work orally, you work rectally, you have to do alkalizing colonics, where you actually are putting in alkaline compounds like sodium bicarbonate, potassium hydroxide, sodium chloride, potassium bicarbonate, magnesium chloride, calcium chloride. You have to put in elements into the bag in order to infuse these into the large bowel to get them into the bloodstream, so they can eventually get to the small bowel. So it's probably
the obvious question: why can we not just drink these? That's probably what a lot of people are thinking. Is it reached easier if it goes via the other end?
Well, over 50% of your blood circulation is in the core, is in the gut.
Mm.
And if you're taking these orally, which you do too, you do both. You take them orally and you take them rectally.
Okay.
But the uptake's immediately. There's nothing to stop the hydration or the absorption of these substances into the gut or from the gut into the bloodstream, like there would be if you were to ingest them. They're going to interact with the acids of the stomach, which is a good thing because we want to raise the pH of the stomach too as well. Because anyone who's dealing with a serious health challenge has a sour stomach. They're producing the stomach produces sodium bicarbonate with a waste product of hydrochloric acid, and
Sorry,
in doing
can I just
so, you
stop
end up
you
with a
there?
belly full of acid.
So, Robert, I mean, this sounds brilliant. It sounds, fascinating. It sounds like something that, a lot of people probably want to do. The only question I have for you is, I also know a lot of people, I've had a lot of clients who come to me who said who have tried this approach. They have tried eating all raw food and all green food and cutting out all acidic substances and acidic activities and all the rest of it. And they just feel terrible. They feel drained.
Well, number one, if they want to begin this type of program, they have to understand that the urination, perspiration, defecation, and did I say urination? No, these are the four channels anyway. Respiration. Yeah, respiration, perspiration, defecation, urine. All those channels have to be open.
Yeah.
And you have to be doing things proactively to make sure that those areas, because this is how the body gets rid of its excess acidity. I mean, like carbon dioxide is an acid the body has to get rid of,
yeah.
Or it has to use it. It uses it in the production of producing sodium bicarbonate. But if there's any blockages, then this is a problem. The second thing, to be successful, you can't be eating solid food, because anyone who's having a health challenge is congested. They're congested in the small or large bowel or both, and they may even have damage to the intestinal villi. So you can't eat solid food. And the reason you can't eat solid food is because food has to be in a liquefied state, and it has to be in an alkaline state for the body to create stem cells in the crypts of the small intestine. Because, if you're having any health challenge, you have to juice or liquefy your food, because your whole alimentary canal is compromised from eating an over-acidic diet, drinking over-acidic fluids. So you literally have to shift that because the whole alimentary canal, even the stomach, should be alkaline. This whole idea that the pH of stomach should be between 1.5 or 3 is totally ridiculous. That's after the fact. The fact that the stomach produces in the cover cells an equal amount of sodium bicarbonate to alkalize the food, and that this hydrochloric acid has nothing to do with digestion. It's just the byproduct or the waste product. It's the smoke of the fire, of alkalization. So the whole digestive system is an alkaline buffering system. And if you're dealing with any health challenge, you have to give up solid food. Now, you have to give up all acidic foods. So, we're talking about a salad. You can have a salad, you just have to liquefy. You put it in a blender or you juice it, and the more juice you can drink, the healthier and the faster you're gonna get. You're gonna achieve greater success in restoring the body back to its healthy state, or what I call perfect health. That's what pH stands for. Perfect health when you stop eating solid food. Can
I ask you a question here, Robert? Because I think most people have been following along with this probably up until this point. Like, okay, eating more green, sunlight, clearing the elimination channels. That all sounds like good stuff. But I think if you start telling people that we can't digest solid food, and that it's not that in fact we're not made to digest solid food, I think a lot of people are going to say, well, how the hell did we survive before blenders and juicers then? I mean, they've only been around.
We don't. We don't. It's a matter of what your mother told you, is to chew your food 20 times.
Okay.
It's probably not enough. You got to chew your food 40 times.
Okay.
The bottom line is you only have one instrument in the body that digests food. That's it. It's your teeth.
Okay.
That's the only thing you've got.
So
There's nothing else in the body that digests food.
So the reason that
Food,
people used to be
food
able to be
digests
healthy
from the inside out.
The reason that people
Food
used to be able to digest, the reason that people used to be able to be healthy throughout, ancient history without blenders and juicers is because they used to chew their food a hell of a lot better, basically.
Well, if they wanted to stay healthy, you got to liquefy your food, and your teeth have got to do it. But that's
Okay.
if you want to shorten your life, don't chew your food.
Okay.
It's just because any solid mass that goes into the stomach is going to be problematic, and that's why the number one, or at least the number two, symptomology in the world today, and more antacids are sold than any other over-the-counter drug, is caused by eating foods that do not liquefy, or foods that we eat that we do not liquefy before we swallow. If it's not liquefied, or in a pure state, and you swallow it, then you got problems, and you will have problems. And you cannot liquefy protein from animal sources. You can't chew it long enough. You're going to be spending, forever trying to liquefy a piece of meat. It just doesn't liquefy. So what it ends up as some sort of, mass in your stomach, and then eventually your small intestine is going to sit and putrefy and rot and destroy the delicate appendages, which are the intestinal villi of the small intestine. And when those are damaged, this is when you start becoming anemic. This is when you start experiencing auto-intoxication or acids into the blood, and then it goes into the tissues, and you're in trouble. So the way you prevent that is you get off acidic foods, you start chewing your food, you start eating more alkaline foods, and you realize the food has to be in a liquid state, in an alkaline state, in order for the body to transform that into embryonic stem cells that then produces our blood, and from there, flows throughout our entire body circulatory systems to become the new body cells.
Could I ask you a question on a personal front as well? As a result of having a live blood analysis, which I know is one of the things that you've pioneered and which I find fascinating and an excellent diagnostic tool, I was already a raw fooder and thinking I was pretty healthy at the time. This is like 3.5 years ago. And my live blood looked awful. It looked appalling. Misshapen, red blood cells, rouleau, terrible. In fact, I'm showing it to people about just how bad your blood can be while you think you're being healthy.
Sure.
And the main thing I took from that is from Ruth again, who you trained, is eat more salt and stop eating sugar. And I did both of those things, and it made a huge difference to my health. Made a huge difference in energy. I've told everyone that when I cut out sugar, it made the biggest difference to my health of all, compared to any other thing that I did. It was massive. My only question for you is, if you're not getting calories from sugar, I believe you're not saying that humans don't need calories full stop, and you recommend getting calories primarily from fats, right?
Well, your body doesn't run on calories. What you want to do is, where are you getting your electrons? Where you're getting your hydroxyl ions, where are you getting the life force energy that the body runs on?
So do we not need any calories? Do we not need fats?
So fats carry electrons. They also are a chelator. The thing about fats is that we need fats in order to build the membranes of our cells, particularly embryonic cells. We need fats, particularly polyunsaturated fats, because of their unsaturation of hydrogen ions. We need them to help buffer excess acidity. So the two major purposes of fats is, one, to build the vessel or the membranes of new embryonic stem cells, and two, for buffering excess acids from metabolism and diet. That's it. As far as carbohydrates, we need carbohydrates like we need a hole in the head, or proteins like we need a hole in the head. We don't need either of those. What we need is live foods, low carbohydrates, that are rich in electricity, rich in electrons, because that's what the body runs on.
Do we not also need proteins in order to make neurotransmitters?
No.
No.
No. Electricity transports on a matrix of sodium, not protein, and we're transporting electrons to energize the cells. And so, bottom line, our blood is what builds muscle. Our blood is what builds bone. And, it's not the flesh of other animals or other sources of protein that build these cells. And so when we're looking at the hemoglobin, which is the molecule of the red blood cell,
Hmm.
which is very, very critical, particularly in athletes. They want to have high hemoglobin counts because it carries the oxygen. But the hemoglobin is what the new body cells are made from. Red blood cells become skin. If you cut your skin, the blood flows there, it becomes the scab, and the scab becomes the skin. Liver cells are made from blood. Heart cells are made from blood. Muscle cells are made from blood. It's not about protein. It's about building blood. And you build blood by ingesting more chlorophyll because the molecule of chlorophyll is identical to hemoglobin other than the center atom. There's a relationship, and we've seen it by testing the RBC counts, by testing hematocrits. We see the volume of the blood go up. So we see the volume go up. We see hemoglobin counts go up. We see red blood cell counts go up as we increase more green foods and green drinks into our diet. That doesn't happen with any other color of foods.
Okay.
So when we do that, that's when we can build muscle. That's when we can build bone. If you're dealing with a condition of osteoporosis, that's the body's need for more blood and more green foods. It's not the body's need for more calcium. It's the body's need for better blood, healthier blood, stronger blood, and a healthier core, because health begins in the core. So when we realize that all body cells are made from blood, and all blood is made from the food we eat in the crypts, and it has to be in an alkaline environment, in the crypts of the small intestine. If that area of the body's not healthy, just like the roots of a plant, the plant's not going to be able to produce flowers, or a tree's not going to be able to produce fruit. And so the roots of the body has a root system, and that root system, the surface area, is over 2,700 square meters, or 7,200 square feet. It's a huge, massive area where the body transforms the liquid alkaline food into new blood, and then new blood into new body cells. So the pH Miracle diet is very low protein and very low sugar, other than what's containing in low sugar fruits like lemons, limes, tomatoes, avocados, all the green vegetables, broccoli, spinach, celery. These are the leafy greens. These are all low sugar fruits. Mm-hmm. They're also low protein. But this has never been a problem with the strongest animals in the world: the silverback gorilla, the rhinoceros, the elephant. I mean, they're eating, continually all day long, green foods. Even the horse, the cow, they're eating green foods, and that green foods builds the blood, and the blood builds the muscle. It's blood that builds muscle, not protein.
So it's a really good point. I'd say probably the biggest objection and fear that I get from men when you talk about this kind of health regime is, but I'd be afraid of losing muscle, or in fact I want to gain muscle. I don't know if you know, but most, if you found that as well, but most men want to gain muscle, right? And when you talk to them about this thing about not having protein, not having carbs, they're terrified because they will be afraid of losing the muscle. And my experience has been, I don't know if yours is different, that actually if people do go onto a very low protein, very low carbohydrate diet, that most men do lose muscle. Has your experience been different? And if
they don't lose muscle. They lose acidic weight. A lot of it's marbled muscle. They lose the excess weight that's holding the acids. They lose that in weak cells that need to be eliminated anyway.
Okay.
And then they can rebuild it with stronger, healthier muscle by building stronger, healthier blood.
Okay, so it's a process, that's what you're saying. Initially, you may seem like you're losing muscle, but over the long term, you can build much stronger, healthier muscle.
That's correct. Yeah, you go into a catabolic when you go on an alkaline diet, the pH Miracle program, you're going to go into a catabolic state where you're going to lose acidic weight. And then that'll shift over to an anabolic state where you're actually, as you're building healthier blood and the volumes start coming up, then you're going to start building and start putting on, healthier cells and body cells, and that's going to translate into stronger muscles.
And in your experience, how long does that take? I know it's going to vary depending on the person and the situation, but
12 to 16 weeks.
12 to 16 weeks. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So someone who wanted to gain weight within 6 months while following your recommendations could certainly do so.
Oh, we see it do it all the time. I mean,
Great.
yeah, one of our patients who entered the Body for Life program, Fit. I think it's Fit for Life or Body for Life. Anyway, he gained 11 pounds of muscle and lost 31 pounds of fat in 12 weeks, and on a grass diet, on a green alkaline program.
That's
He
amazing.
actually wanted to, yeah, and that's what happens. You end up losing acidic fat weight because the body holds on to fat to park excess acidity. So the body, when it starts getting alkaline, starts releasing that acid and also releasing the fat. And then as you're building the blood with green foods and green drinks, as you're building the blood with green foods and green drinks, then that translates into more muscle and muscle mass, particularly if you're exercising. You don't have to over-exercise, but doing daily exercise, which I recommend an hour at least a day, some form of exercise. You have to find out those things which you're most interested in or that you enjoy doing: swimming, biking, rebounding, weightlifting, whatever it is. You can do a combination of all kinds of different types of exercise, because the cells don't differentiate between the different forms of exercise. They just feel the stress of it, and that contraction of the muscle creates a static attraction that allows blood to flow there, and that's how you build muscle. You build muscle by creating static contractions in those areas of the body that you want to build, so the blood can flow there and differentiate into new muscle cells. And these are techniques that I use and others use successfully to maintain their health.
Excellent.
Even in your 60s. So
yeah,
that would be my.
I have a client who's in his early 60s who has been unhealthy his whole life, and as a result of following basic alkaline protocol, he's just run a marathon, which is about 26 miles, and his aim was to have more energy at the end than the beginning, and using kind of basically the techniques you're talking about here, he achieved it easily, and he was very pleased with the result. So I can testify to that too. Can I ask you, because this is about alkalinity and remineralization, just your perspective on that? You've already mentioned sodium, as a must in terms of minerals.
Well, sodium ions for the as the primary ion for the transport of electrical energy. Chloride, which is a foundational element in the production of iron. So it's sodium and chloride are essential for a healthy body. And then on top of that, the body needs sodium in order to produce sodium bicarbonate or potassium bicarbonate. So are other elements which the body naturally produces as the number one and number two alkalizers of metabolic and dietary acids. So you can take those from the foods you eat. You can also supplement them as well, which can be very, very, very beneficial. That's why I created the product 4 Salts, which contains sodium bicarbonate, potassium bicarbonate, magnesium, and calcium chloride to support the body's need for these specific minerals that are essential for managing the alkaline design of the body and minimizing acids from all of its variety of functions.
So it's the 5 basic electrolytes that you would focus on: sodium, chloride, potassium, magnesium, and calcium.
Absolutely, yeah.
Excellent. Is there any other that you also consider to be important, or as far as you're concerned, that's really what someone should focus on?
Well, those are the main ones. I recommend and they should be part of everyone's diet. And you can get it from the foods you eat, but you can also supplement too as well.
Excellent. Lastly, I just want to touch a bit on the subject of emotions, because like Tony Robbins talks about, ultimately the quality of a person's life is the quality of how they feel. Right? I think that's really important. And you have some really interesting stuff to say, in my opinion, about alkalinity and the feelings associated with alkalinity, and acidity and the feelings associated with that. And it might be helpful to people if they understand not just the chemistry kind of stuff and the electricity and all the rest of it, but also, listen, if you're alkaline, you'll feel like this. Yeah. If you're acidic, you'll feel like this. Do you mind sharing with us what your experience has been in that regard?
Yeah, well, feelings are different than emotions. Emotions is energy in motion. It's the action or the reaction of that particular feeling. I mean, you may feel a certain way, like you may be upset, and that may be portrayed out in the emotion of anger. So, if you stay in anger, that requires a tremendous amount of energy to stay in anger, and it causes the stomach to produce sodium bicarbonate to pull that alkalinity into the tissues to deal with the acids from that particular thought process, because as you're using electrical energy, you're producing chemical waste products that need to be buffered. So the stomach kicks in and starts producing sodium bicarbonate to neutralize the acids, and you get a belly full of hydrochloric acid. That's why people that are emotionally distressed have upset stomachs. They have digestive problems. They have knots in their gut, because they're creating that with acidic thoughts or staying within acidic emotions. It's okay to have feelings. It's how you deal with those. If you deal with those feelings in a proactive way. I mean, you can feel sad, but if it goes into depression, then that's an emotion that you're doing that's creating a tremendous amount of acid that can kill you. So depression can cause cancer. Depression can cause illness. And you have to understand that anytime you're in your head playing some movie, whatever that movie is, most people play it over and over again. They'll end up with what I call a thought attack, because 80% of heart attacks are caused by our thoughts, and those movies that we constantly play over and over again. They're called reruns, that create a tremendous amount of acid that can weaken the heart, that can cause congestion, that can damage the functions of our body organs, and can use up the alkaline reserves that we have. And so here again, feelings are good. Emotions many times can be bad. You can have a feeling of love. Okay, but how are you portraying that feeling? Is in an emotion, which E stands for energy. Energy in motion could actually be acidifying or could be alkalizing.
So let me just let me just understand this. So you're saying it's not so much that certain feelings are good or bad or acid alkaline. It's when you emotionalize a feeling, as in you act on the feeling or you play the feeling, as it were, then it's draining your body's alkaline reserve. So is that also true with emotions like joy or gratitude? Will they be?
Absolutely. You could be jumping for joy, but if you keep jumping for joy, you're probably going to pass out and die. I mean, from the acids. Here again, it's understanding that there's nothing wrong with a feeling with joy. That's great, or sadness. It's how you decide to act or to portray or to express that particular feeling. You see, excellent. And that actually then determines how much of your life force energy you use and how much the body has to produce to neutralize the acid. And in neutralizing that particular acid that's produced from that particular emotion that's created from that feeling, And so I don't have any problems with feelings. I have problems with the way people act on those feelings. Or react or so it could be reactive or proactive. So it's okay to be angry. It's not okay to stay in anger, because you're going to create acid and you'll end up killing yourself being angry. Revenge is the same thing, I mean, but you can do these with positive emotions, so-called positive emotions too, depending on how you're expressing those emotions.
So what you would say now, that what Tony does of getting people to go into peak states all day of emotionalizing is probably actually draining to their alkaline reserves.
Well, I can't speak about what Tony's doing.
Sure,
but
sorry,
I mean,
okay, sorry. Let's. If someone goes to any kind of concert or something like that, and they're cheering and happy, clapping, and all the rest of it, they're just in one way they're just draining themselves. It sounds like a distinctly kind of almost like what all the spiritual systems of the world have always said. That it's okay to have things go through you, but when you hold on to emotions, then you are draining yourself. That's basically what you're saying too.
Well, yeah. In other words, you could be worried about something, but if you stay worried, that's highly draining. Why is it draining? Because it requires energy. Energy produces acids, and that's what makes you sick. Acid is the cause of all physical and emotional illness.
Okay.
And what happens is when you start alkalizing your body, you start feeling better. And when you start feeling better, you start doing better. You start acting better. So you actually express your emotions in a more peaceful way. I mean, that's what people really are seeking. They're seeking peace. They're seeking to be grounded, but they can't be grounded because they don't understand the physiology of the body.
So you're saying it's not
They
so
don't
much about...
understand what foods are alkalizing. They don't understand that coffee doesn't provide, a conduit for dealing with your feelings, even though, if you drink something with caffeine, you may feel temporarily better, but you just poisoned yourself. The body has to react, so you end up using your alkaline reserves. Now you can say, oh, everybody drinks coffee. Yeah, I understand a lot of people drink coffee. I'm just trying to tell you that if you want perfect health, drinking coffee is not the way to achieve it.
Definitely. Robert, this has been fascinating. I could talk to you all night, but I know you're a busy man who's got a lot of people to help. So I really appreciated this so much. Is there any final thoughts that you want to leave people with who've been watching this? Just so you understand, everyone who's on this course, everyone who's watching this right now, they're focusing on energy. They want more energy. So what's like the bottom line?
Well, yeah, if you want more energy, number one, you've got to open up the channels of elimination. You've got to heal the gut. You've got to build the blood, and you have to hyperperfuse the body with alkaline foods and drinks, and maintain that alkalinity, because your body, its ideal state is alkaline in its design, and realize that all functions of the body, thinking, eating, the heart beating, all these functions produce waste products that, if not properly eliminated, can eventually cause sickness and disease. And so if we realize this, and that, managing the internal fluids of the body is the single most important thing that you can do, and understand that there are foods that heal, and there are foods that are acidifying and do eventually kill us from their acidic nature, we start making better choices. And that's where my articles and my books really help, because I define what foods they are, and some of them I really like. It's not like I have anything against any particular food. I mean, I love bananas. I just don't eat them. What do? I substitute bananas for avocados. Why? Because avocados and bananas have practically the same texture. Bananas have potassium. Avocados have more potassium. So in that sense, they're alkalizing. But the difference is, which is the real kicker here, is bananas are high acid. They're high sugar. Avocados are low sugar. The other thing about a avocado, it's 15% protein for those protein freaks out there. Think they need all this protein. And it's a chlorophyll. It's green. Bananas aren't green. Well, they are green, but we don't eat them that way. And the answer to that question is, if you're going to eat a banana, make sure it's green. Look, banana is one of my favorite fruits when I was growing up. But I'm in my 60s now. I don't eat them because I eat foods that are going to energize my body and maintain that perfect health, because that's what I'm trying to achieve. And to, maintain the quality of health that I have requires me to follow an alkalizing lifestyle and diet.
It's been absolutely fascinating. I just want to thank you so much for sharing. If people are interested in what you do and want to find out more, obviously you mentioned the pH Miracle Diet. That's like a great starting place. Is there anywhere else that you would particularly direct people to?
Well, yeah, they can go to our website, phmiracle.com, or they can go to my articles, where my articles are posted at articlesofhealth.blogspot.com. If you forget that, just go to phmiracle.com and look at the top bar. It'll say articles. You can hit that. And, of course, these articles are put into various categories. If you want to learn more about this new way of living, this new way of eating, and this new way of thinking. The new biology.
The new biology. And can I just ask you, actually, as a final thought, I mean, is it your plan that ultimately this new biology is going to be taught in every school in the world and, understood by every person? Is that the ultimate goal of this?
Yeah, absolutely. The head of Johns Hopkins University said Dr. Young is on the threshold of a new biology medicine which will change these worlds as we know them today. The books have to be rewritten. This is now, science that is important to understand because it'll help us make better choices that will extend the quality and quantity of our life and protect us from the epidemics of diabetes and cancer, which are throughout the world now.
And probably massively reduce the environmental damage that's going on as a result of eating animal food, which, as you say, is completely unnecessary for health and in fact severely detrimental to
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Robert. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Great. Thank you.